The Atacama Desert. An arid landscape in the rugged foothills of northern Chile. From vast salt flats and lakes to volcanoes and desert dunes. It is one of South America's last great wildlands. A place where the Earth's subterranean fires explode, more than 4,000 meters above sea level. A remote outpost for scientists to explore the universe and its origins. A breeding ground for creatures, adapted to one of the world's most hostile habitats. And a rarely seen view of one of the highest and driest deserts on Earth. The Atacama Desert. A wild and barren environment, stretching along 1,000 kilometers of northern Chile's Pacific coast, west of the towering Andes Mountains. This is the driest non-polar region on Earth. Parts of the coastal desert receive an annual rainfall of less than 1 millimeter, making Atacama 50 times more arid than California's Death Valley. It would take a century for Atacama's rainfall to fill a teacup. In the northern region of the desert are hostile arid stretches that have not seen a single drop of rain since record-keeping began 100 years ago. In the far distance, east of Atacama, the Andes Mountains block moist Amazon air from reaching the desert. Air forced upwards by the Andes cools and condenses in the high altitude, forming great vapor clouds that dump rain on the mountain slopes below. The warm, dry air then descends down the western flank of the mountain, leaving no rain to fall on these parched lands. Celsius temperatures in the desert reach the mid-20s during the day and can plunge below zero at night. Atacama looks and feels like another planet.
For me, it's probably the sensation of dryness. There is no place dry like this. The loneliness also, and how remote it is, make this place being special. There is no place on Earth like this.
Adding to this otherworldly feel is the majestic sweep of Mars Valley. When the Belgian priest Gustavo Lepage arrived here in the 1950s, he named this place Valley de Marte due to its similarity to the surface of Mars. But the name led to confusion.
The Mars Valley and the Death Valley sound very similar in Spanish, Valle de la Muerte and Valle de Marte. He put the name Mars Valley, and then all the people start to change this name, like Mars, Muerte, Marte, so it becomes the Death Valley.
Death Valley, Mars Valley, one thing is certain. Just as on Mars, the withered landscape here is too dry for most life forms. The arid climate and soil depleted of organic material make the Atacama more similar to Mars than any other place on Earth. NASA has tested its Mars rovers here, and researchers have studied the scarce life that exists in the Atacama, mainly microorganisms within the salt rock, to learn how similar primitive life forms might survive on Mars. At the most arid center of the Atacama, there are no signs of life, no grass, no cacti, no animals. Just desert, as far as the eye can see. Vegetation grows only in those rare sites where the water table reaches the surface, or along rivers irrigated by melted snow. The few animals that survive here, such as these vicuñas, have adapted to extremes. Desert heat, frigid nights, and thin mountain air. Further along Atacama's Salt Mountain Range, Mars Valley gives way to even stranger celestial sandscapes. Valle de la Luna, the Valley of the Moon. What was an ancient saltwater lake more than 25 million years ago is now a stunning lunar-like panorama. Ancient layers of minerals formed by the evaporation of the lake, bitten by flooding, extremes in temperature, and the savage wind that whips in from the Andes.
Wind is one of the masters here because it sculpted this. I mean, gave the shapes in the last 1,000 years old. So without the wind, probably this is just one mass of rocks, maybe with colors, but not so attractive, like with wind.
High above the abrupt volcanic terrain, a sphinx-like sculpture, shaped from salt, gypsum, and clay, stares jaggedly over the valley's central crater. Far below, folds in the Earth's crust reveal the ancient geological forces that shaped these battered plains. Geologic evidence suggests the drought in Atacama has persisted for more than 10 million years, making it not only the world's driest desert, but one of the oldest. An immaculate windswept sand dune rises 100 meters above Moon Valley. Everything in the Atacama is extreme. At this high altitude, the oxygen content in the air is low. Locals chew coca leaves, which contain alkaloids believed to increase energy and numb the headaches associated with altitude sickness. Searing sun heats the thin air, blasting the desert with UV radiation, far more dangerous than at sea level. At the roughest edges of nature, the only sound is the wind and the crunch of salt and stone.
One of the things that make this place special, I mean, the Moon Valley, the Death Valley, is just the silence. There's no places like this in the world. There's no places with this kind of landscape. It's more the silence. You feel like you're surrounded by nothing, by just yourself.
In Guatin Canyon, the stillness of Moon Valley is broken by the ripple of the Valama River. The river has two sources: the thermal spring of Puritama, which brings minerals in its warm waters, and the Purifica, cold and clear snowmelt that flows from the Andes. The result is a life-giving oasis in the middle of a dust bowl.
Imagine here in the desert, river is life. It's amazing to see how a little bit of water can change everything around.
Plant life thrives here. Foxtail, the thick, hardy desert grass that springs up to 3 meters high, and the soaring carden cactus. The carden grows at a rate of just 1 centimeter each year. At heights of more than 7 meters, some of the carden in Guatin Canyon are more than 700 years old. For hundreds of years, local people have used the wood from the cacti for the doors and windows of their houses. A burnt sienna sun moves across the sandscape as another parched day in the Atacama draws to a close. As dawn breaks in the foothills of the Andes, the Earth's underground infernos boil over, creating a natural spectacle that must be seen to be believed. More than 4,300 meters above sea level, nature unleashes one of its most spectacular wonders, the Elatio geysers. A plume of steam, cast from the Earth's scalding core, soars above a wintry Andean sunrise. Elatio's 80 active geysers are most dramatic at dawn, as cold mountain air condenses the hot steam erupting from below.
Elatio is a magic place. With your eyes you can see to the infinity and more, all the mountains around, and also feel the power of the center of the air there in the water. Really, it's like a dream.
The geysers explode from vents in the Earth's surface that run deep into the crust. Cool groundwater filters down the vents and onto extremely hot rocks. Superheated to a temperature beyond its boiling point, the trapped water converts to vapor and seeks an escape. As the pressure builds, the steam explodes from this underground pressure cooker, jetting as high as 7 meters into the frigid mountain air. Expansive enough to fill 6 European soccer fields, Elatio, which means grandfather who cries in the local Kunza language, is the largest geothermal field in the southern hemisphere and the 3rd largest in the world. More than 4,000 meters up the Chilean Andes, Elatio is also one of the highest. At such high altitude, water boils at just 86 degrees Celsius, much cooler than the 100 degrees required at sea level. The thinner air and lower atmospheric pressure allows water molecules to escape as vapor at lower temperatures. A watery crater, fed by hot underground rivers, boils in the first shards of morning light. Elatio is truly a marvel of the Andes, but it is not without its dangers. Visitors who venture too close to the craters risk breaking through the fragile ground and scalding themselves in the boiling pools. In the last 20 years, at least 2 people have died here after falling into a crater and suffering severe burns. Geysers are rare phenomena requiring specific geological conditions. Worldwide, there are currently only about 1,000 active geysers. The steaming ground, fiery craters, and towering columns of vapor at Elatio indicate hot water passing through sediment below and recent volcanic activity. Elatio is ringed with active volcanoes that could erupt at any time. Further up the Chilean Andes, an immense observatory near the top of the world attempts to unlock the mysteries of an unexplored frontier. Here in the cold, thin mountain air, this vast and complex astronomical operation is studying the universe and its origins. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array, ALMA. In Spanish, ALMA means soul. On the wind-lashed Chanantor Plateau, a huddle of antennas, each weighing more than 100 tons, whir overhead. Chenantor means place of flight in Kunza, the language of the Atacameño people. At more than 5,000 meters above sea level, the same altitude as Mount Everest Base Camp, this is the ideal location for scientists to explore the heavens. ALMA is a partnership between Europe, North America, and East Asia. At any given time, there are 150 people from around the world working in shifts and sleeping in the on-site living quarters. Nestled among the high peaks of the Andes, ALMA is above more than 40% of the Earth's atmosphere. It is already nearly halfway to space. Water vapor in the atmosphere absorbs signals from space, preventing astronomers from examining far regions of the universe. ALMA's high and dry location in the parched Atacama Desert puts it above 95% of the Earth's water vapor, making it possible for scientists to see more clearly into the dark reaches of the cosmos. Five kilometers high, close to the heavens and the Earth's equator, ALMA can see most of the light that rains down from the sky. The wide, level plateau at Chenantor provides the space for 66 giant antennas to spread out at a distance of more than 16 kilometers, allowing the antennas to capture a view of the universe invisible to traditional telescopes. ALMA observes the universe by collecting radio waves, light that is invisible to optical telescopes and the human eye. These radio waves, which reach ALMA from the depths of space, carry new secrets about stars and galaxies created in the cosmic dark ages, billions of years ago.
We're trying to understand exactly how the universe unfolded after the Big Bang and trying to understand what is it about the universe that enabled things like us to exist today. And so by peering back into, or deep into space, we're basically peering back into time and looking back and seeing how things like galaxies formed, and then how the stars formed, and then how planets formed. So all of this origins here allow us to understand where we come from and also where we may be going.
ALMA's 66 antennas work together as one, moving in unison and combining signals to create a single giant telescope, able to scan the cosmos for the faintest traces of light, providing a view of the universe as we've never seen it before. It is the world's largest eye on the sky, peering through webs of cosmic dust and gas to observe the formation of distant stars and galaxies billions of light years away. Just one of ALMA's 12-meter antennas is larger than the biggest visible light telescope on Earth. By combining the signals from 66 antennas spread over 16 kilometers, ALMA can harness the resolution power of a single telescope with a 16-kilometer diameter. To read the billions of light signals from 66 antennas would require 150,000 personal computers. Instead, ALMA is able to combine the views from each antenna into a single concentrated image using a mega computer able to perform 17 quadrillion operations per second. Each antenna planted on Chanantor is a marvel of engineering. The surface panels of each antenna must be almost perfectly smooth, accurate to less than the thickness of a single sheet of paper. Antennas are repositioned to capture the best possible view of an object in space. When spread apart, antennas can see the finest details. When close together, they take in the object's broad features. But lifting an antenna, transporting it 30 kilometers up a mountain, then placing it within a fraction of a millimeter of its required position is in itself a feat of engineering. Each antenna is a high-precision scientific instrument, weighing more than 100 tons. To move the antennas to one of the world's most remote locations requires a sophisticated vehicle, custom-built for such a delicate job. ALMA has 2 mega-sized antenna transporters, each the size of a tennis court. Highly skilled operators are able to control the vehicle remotely, to guide it through critical maneuvers. The vehicles are equipped with 28 wheels, fitted in pairs, and able to turn independently in any direction, providing the transporter with ultra maneuverability. 2 700 horsepower engines reach a top speed of 12 kilometers per hour with an antenna in place. Iron grips keep the antennas safe from earthquakes. Powerful stabilizers and delicate cooling systems allow the fragile antennas to operate while traveling in one of the world's most severe environments. It takes 2 operators more than 6 hours to make the 2,000-meter climb from the operation support facility up a winding custom-made road to the high-altitude plateau. With the antennas in place, astronomers perched high in the Chilean desert are able to explore the dark, cold, and far-reaching secrets of the cosmos.
It's an incredible opportunity to be at basically the forefront of science and see these things come together, trying to understand the origins of galaxies and stars and planets, and maybe even determine something about the origin of life. It gives us a great sense of perspective of our existences on this planet. Through astronomy, we really get a sense of the scope and grandeur of the universe.
In the remote highlands of the Andes, not far from ALMA, a strange and barren landscape holds the secret to an ancient geological past. This is the Altiplano, or High Plains, a wide, high-altitude desert plateau in the central Andes Mountains. Here, in the foothills of a chain of volcanoes near the border of Argentina, lies one of the Altiplano's most striking natural wonders, the Aguas Calientes salt flat. A thick layer of salt shines white under the high desert sun. This was once a mighty salt lake that evaporated in the arid Atacama climate. Over thousands of years, salt and other minerals, such as potassium, sulfur, and arsenic, accumulated on the surface, forming an immense sheet of hexagonal tiles shaped by the salt's crystalline properties. At the edge of Aguas Calientes, an opening in the Earth's crust gives way to a shimmering silver pool, Tuyato Lagoon, part salt flat and part lagoon. Tuyato is fed by groundwater passing through sediment, flowing from the sleeping volcanoes that ring the lagoon. The water is laced with enough caustic minerals, salt, sulfur, and arsenic to corrode a car. In spite of its toxicity, these waters brim with life. Algae, microorganisms, and the tiny brine shrimp that make this a favorite feeding ground of the flamingo. 3 of the world's 6 species flock here: James's, Andean, and Chilean flamingos. Flamingos are born with gray feathers. The pink coloring comes from an organic pigment found in their primary food source, brine shrimp. Without these shrimp, the flamingo would eventually lose its rosy hue. Flamingos are filter eaters, sifting shrimp and algae from the salt water through small bristles in their mouths. Their tongues pump up and down 6 times per second, pushing water through their beaks, allowing them to filter their food.
They separate the salty water from the food. So that way, they are eating 95% of the day, like la 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 la, making that noise. And then they are dropping the water, and at the same time, they're eating the shrimps and algae and other invertebrates.
Specialized glands next to their beaks allow them to drink salt water. The salt is then passed as excrement, meaning flamingos don't rely on fresh water in a parched land that offers very little. Also perfectly suited to the high altitudes and torrid dryness that grips the Atacama Desert is the vicuña, the world's smallest camel. A wild ancestor of the alpaca, vicuñas can go several days without water and are able to consume salt water when needed. The vicuña's thick, soft coat traps heat from the sun, protecting it from cold nighttime temperatures and the harsh winds that rip through the landscape. A young female feeds on the tough, low grasses that spring up on the Andean plains. The vicuña's lower teeth grow constantly, like that of a rodent, to allow them to feed on hardened clumps of grass. But in one of the world's harshest environments, survival is a struggle.
Vicuñas, when they get old, unfortunately, they lose their lower teeth. As they eat this plant called hard grass or salty grass, they are not able to eat it anymore, so they starve to death.
By the middle of the last century, vicuñas faced an entirely different threat. Highly valued for their fur, they were hunted to near extinction. At one point in the 1970s, just 6,000 remained. Both Chile and Peru established protected national parks and put a halt to the trade in vicuña wool. Today, there are more than 350,000 vicuñas, thriving and surviving in one of the most unlikely places on Earth. The Atacama is a brutal and barren landscape, home to the world's driest desert, and to some of the highest volcanoes in the Andes. Here on the southernmost border between Chile and Bolivia, a solemn giant pierces the clouds. Volcano. Volcanoes means mountain of the people in the local Atacameño language. At 5,920 meters, it is one of the tallest volcanoes in the Andes. Hidden inside its 400-meter wide crater is the world's highest volcanic lagoon, Volcanoes Lake. Volcanoes is a dormant volcano, meaning it could erupt at any time with explosive fury. More than 15% of the world's active and dormant volcanoes are in Chile, an almost continuous chain that runs more than 4,000 kilometers. Earthquakes are common, eruptions a constant danger. The thin air and sheer altitude of Volcanoes makes it a challenge for hikers and climbers. Winding through the Atacama are hundreds of kilometers of hiking trails, from easy 3-hour strolls to ambitious 3-day treks up the Andes.
It's very important to come here also with a person that know very well the place. And, we don't recommend to do this by yourself because it's a very tricky place in terms of, well, there is different ravines into the main one that can make sometimes take a wrong way. Time to time, we have to go outside to looking for somebody lost, but always getting good results.
From the barren, alien landscape of Moon Valley to the spectacular exploding geysers of Elatio, the Atacama Desert is a natural and geological treasure and one of the world's last great wildlands.
The Atacama Desert is a place that you can find a lot of things. Salt flats, lagoons, high climbing volcanoes, mountain ranges. It's just a place that you can find yourself.
It's completely contemplative, for meditation, for mindly meditation, to contemplate the colors, the sun settings, to make photos if you like. Landscapes are quite like paintings, literally. So it's like a place to relax yourself and maybe to be in silence.
Here is a place where you can be introspective, can connect with everything, can hear the silence, really, to feel only like the breeze of the air in your ears. You can focus in, to feel graceful for all around and to be here in the middle of nowhere and to see all this magic.